Hi guys, welcome back to Joseph Cloud Labs. In this tutorial, we are going to deploy the Next SaaS application on the AWS by using the CI/CD pipelines. So basically, I have my application running locally, which is the SaaS application. So we are going to go ahead and automate the deployment of this SaaS application. So here we have our application running locally, and I have made some small changes, and then I'm going to push to GitHub and then proceed with the further steps on the AWS. So I'm going to go ahead and push my new changes, which is the latest one. So git add, git commit, and then add the message, the commit message. Push. Now my latest changes are all pushed on the GitHub. Now I'm going to go ahead and proceed with the further steps on the AWS. Now the second step is to create the S3 bucket for hosting, which we create from the AWS. So here there is already recent services that I have used. So here it is already exist, but once it is not exist here, you can come and search for the S3 and then proceed and create the bucket. Here for creating the bucket, you come here and specify any unique name that we need. Let me call it Joseph SaaS App Next.js. So I can go ahead and block the all public access now, and then enable this option and proceed with creating bucket. Once the bucket is created, I can be able to access it. And currently I don't have anything here in my S3 bucket. The third step is to create the code pipeline on the AWS. And for creating the code pipeline, I come here and search for the code pipeline, which is the Amazon solution for the code delivery. So I don't have any existing one. I can go ahead and create a pipeline, and this time I want to build the custom pipeline. So I will go ahead and proceed and specify the name, and then I will create a new service role, which has the name of the pipeline that I have created here. So I proceed, and from here I need to connect with the GitHub via the GitHub app, and I go ahead and connect with the GitHub. Here let me add the SaaS deploy Nextjs, which is the connection name, and connect to the GitHub. Okay, now I can be able to see this option for installing a new app. I will go ahead and proceed with this option, and then I can be able to see the old organizations that I am connected to. Here I'm go ahead and proceed with my personal repository, and here I search for the one that we are going to deploy, which is this one, SaaS deploy, AWS SaaS deploy. So I will hit save, and then I will be redirected back to the connecting to GitHub page, and then click connect. Once this process is done, now the connection is added. I will go ahead and select the deploy name. So I'm going to proceed with selecting the repository name, and the default branch I will keep it as main. So here I can go ahead and proceed. Now for the builder, now for the build provider, I'm going to proceed with the other build providers, and this time I'm going to use the CodeBuild. So I'll go ahead and create a project, which is directed me to another page. So I can here Next.js CodeBuild you are free to use any name that you want. Here for the environment, I will stick to on-demand managed image ES2. And for operating system, here you can use the Amazon Linux or Ubuntu. Here, whatever that you need to use. And I'm going to go ahead and for the build spec, I will use the build spec file which I already have in my project. So here on the root folder of my application, I have the buildspec.yaml file, which is used by the CodeBuild to define how to build and package our application. So I'm going to proceed and continue to CodePipeline. Now I can go back to CodePipeline, and as you can see, we have successfully created our Next.js CodeBuild in the CodeBuild. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So for the test provider, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as it is now. And now we go for the deploy provider. For the deploy provider, I'm going to use the S3. I have already created the bucket for that. So here I'm going to come for the bucket and search. Here for the bucket, I will choose the one that I have already created. So I want to extract all the files before deploying them. So I am going to tick this first option and then proceed. Here there is a review form before we go ahead and create the pipeline. So everything is done. So I'm going to go ahead and create pipeline. Good. Now the pipeline of the next SaaS application has already been created, and now we are going to proceed with the deploying our application, which will be the automated process. So as you can see now, the source option, the first option for source is done. Now the second part for the build has already started, which runs that the build spec.yaml files, and then once it is done, it will deploy itself on the Amazon S3. As you can see, it's really amazing. We don't have to do the manual process every day or every time that we are going to deploy. We just create the one-time process and it will be deploying itself later. So we are going to go ahead and wait for this automation deployment to be done, and then we test the live application hosted on the AWS. Good. Now our application has already been deployed. Now we can go ahead and see our application running. Now I'm going to go back in the S3, and from here there is this bucket that I have created. So this time there is a lot of files that have been added. So I'm going to proceed with this index.html, and there is this object URL. I'm going to copy and access it from the browser. Now here we are not able to access our application. They are giving us the access denied option. So we are going to go back in our S3 bucket, and we come in the permissions, and here in the bucket policy we click edit, and then you add this policies, which allows us to get the public read get object. We are now able to access our application, but now for the source we are going to edit this file and replace it with our S3 bucket name. So I'm going to go ahead and then save changes. Now it is done. So I'm going to go back, then click refresh. And now, as you can see, we have successfully deployed our SaaS application by using the automated deployment. So let's take an example. One of your manager told you that this application on the prices, there should be some discount. Instead of having this 57, we should be having like 47 per month, which would affect also the amount of the price on there to make it 470. So as a developer, you will come and do the modifications on this system or this application, and once you push, everything will be automatically being implemented so that you can be able to get these changes without doing other manual deployment. So I'm going to go ahead and do this sample thing. So here I'm going to change the prices to from 57 to 47, and here from 5070 to 470, and then I do the pushing to my GitHub so that the code pipeline can trigger some changes and do the automatic deployment. So I'm going to do the git add, git commit, adding discount, and then going to do the git push to the main branch, which is the one that we have set from the code pipeline. Great. Now we are going to wait for a few seconds. Let me go back here in the code pipeline to see how the magic are going to be made. Here from the code pipeline, immediately here the steps has already been started. The first step has already done. Now we are doing the building. As you can see, the commit is this commit for the adding discount is already here. So it is going to deploy itself, and then we see the changes from the application. So we are going to wait for a few seconds, and then we go back after everything is done. Great, now the whole steps are done. We can go back on our application and refresh and check if everything has changed as we needed on the discounts. So let me go back on the discount page section. Now, as you can see, the price has already changed. Instead of having 57, and now we have 47, and for the we have the 470 instead of having 5070. So as you can see, this is how the automated deployment on the AWS is done for the Next.js application. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and like and comment and subscribe for more cloud engineering